WWE Elimination Chamber. So, this is going to be a shorter sort of video. This is not going to be like the AEW reviews where I go for an hour and 15 minutes and talk about it at great length. Although I will be talking about some bits in great length and other bits, I will be glossing over them because my brain just couldn't handle it. So, Elimination Chamber. I remember the buzz for the first few Elimination Chamber matches back in the day when they all started. It used to feel like the Elimination Chamber was something to be scared of. Like, I remember the build-up for the famous one, which had The Rock, Stone Cold, Kurt Angle, Rikishi, and so on. Now, that one, it was live on Channel 4 in the UK, if you remember those days, which is just mental. But yeah, I remember the build-up to that match. I was genuinely scared that someone was going to get hurt. I thought a wrestler was going to get seriously hurt in this match. People used to be worried. It felt like the Elimination Chamber was something to be scared of. And yeah, as I said, people were going to get hurt. But then WWE recycled it. They used it again, and they used the chamber again and again. And it then became a yearly tradition. And when things become a yearly tradition in wrestling, in this sort of way, where it's a token, you have to have this match on a date instead of that match has to be part of a blood feud, it sucks the drama out of it. And I feel that the drama that used to come with the Elimination Chamber has been totally drained over the years. Now, what should be a yearly huge event when it happens is just a yearly event. It's just a bump, a violent bump on the way to WrestleMania. It's more of a chore than an event. Something that the wrestlers have got to get through to get to WrestleMania. I just think that's just nonsense. I hate that. But that said, like this week, instead of doing what I normally do and just watching the YouTube reaction videos and reacting to that, I thought today I would do an actual review of the Elimination Chamber. Now, obviously I try and do these things early in the day, so to save time, I wasn't going to watch the middle matches. I was just going to watch the Elimination Chamber matches. Now, first of all, I thought there was going to be 3. I thought we were going to have a women's match and 2 a Raw and a SmackDown one. Thankfully, now, I would have liked to have seen the women's Elimination Chamber match, but there wasn't one. So instead, there was just a Raw Elimination Chamber match, a SmackDown Elimination Chamber match, and I managed to miss everything in between. So what I did was I've just watched both chamber matches. Everything else can take a run and jump for all I care. I'm just not interested in them. I'm not interested in the story. I don't care about like Nia's hole. I don't care whatever's happening in those matches. I only really care about the Elimination Chamber matches because these are the main events. They're big matches, so I just wanted to watch them and save my sanity for the rest of the week because I've got a feeling it's going to be a long week in terms of talking about wrestling and stuff like that. So I wanted to save myself a bit. That said, so here we go. The Elimination Chamber started with a promo. And it was a really, really good promo. It was one of those classic WWE promo videos. It was great. It was probably one of the best. I mean, when I wrote this, I was like, it's probably going to be one of the best bits of the show. And I mean, to a degree, I was right. Although, the first Elimination Chamber on the match was fucking outstanding. I thought it was great. So, before we even got into the match, I remembered that they changed the design of the Elimination Chamber a few years ago. We now have this square cell thing instead of the old round one. And I mean, this is a classic example of something's broke. If something is not broke, you don't need to fix it. There was nothing wrong with the old cell, and instead they've replaced it with this square thing. Now, it leads to the question of why do we not just have Hell in the Cell matches in this new Elimination Chamber? Like, clearly the Plex and pods can just pop out. Just take them out, Hell in the Cell, why not? Maybe that's what they're doing over there. Maybe it's one of these slow things where you change a little bit at a time, and then by the time you get to the end, you don't realise that the change happened. Who knows? But yeah, thankfully there was only 2 Elimination Chamber matches on this show. I can handle that. I thought I could handle watching 2 Elimination Chamber matches on one show. By hell. By the time we got to the end of the second chamber, I found out I was wrong. Spoilers. I loved the first chamber match. I very much disliked the second chamber match. I thought it was boring. So, we start the SmackDown Elimination Chamber match. Let's get to the graphic. Well, we won't get the graphic. We'll just skip to the first 2 men that started in the ring, Bryan and Cesaro. Now, I didn't put this in my notes, but it should be noted that Cesaro's trunks were They were like an optical illusion. They were great. I don't know. I don't know. It looked more like a pair of pants, like a weird pant pattern on them, like briefs, male briefs. When you get a little wavy line pattern on them. I'm just talking about pants now, so I'm just going to stop. In the SmackDown Elimination Chamber match, we had King Corbin, Cesaro, Jey Uso, Kevin Owens, Sami Zayn, and Daniel Bryan. And the caveat of today's match is that the winner gets to face Roman Reigns for the WWF Championship, or the heavyweight, whatever belt it is he holds, tonight. After the match. So wait, someone has to go through the entire chamber match, and then after the match, they get a shot at a super fresh monster heel Roman Reigns. I mean, what sort of shitty prize is that? That's like having a boxing world championship match for like a world title, but you're told that, well, before you get to the first round, you've got to run a marathon, then we'll put the gloves on you and you can fight. It's just not fair, but I mean, I guess it feeds into the whole storyline that they've got going just now. It's not a storyline I know a lot of, so I'm going to give them a pass on that to a degree. It's something we see in wrestling every so often, so I'm not going to hate on this too much, but I would have rather that the winner of the Elimination Chamber got something solid, got a solid prize. That is a prize, because winning a match and then facing the big bad guy is not a prize. That seems like a forfeit. You know what I mean? It stood to reason that whoever was in that position is not going to beat the champion at the end of the match. It's just fucking stupid. But that's a beef on wrestling storytelling in general, not really a beef on this story. So, while the entrances were happening, I noticed that the pods were standing in. They didn't have the metal chain all around them. It's like the bit behind them, which would be like towards the outside of the ring area, was just plexiglass. And was this not a massive weakness? I mean, we know that the plexan, as they call it, always gets broken. So if the glass behind the wrestlers that weak, and I mean at points you could see it just coming away from the metal. I mean, is this not just a massive way for people to break out of the cells and do something else? And as I found out, the notes that I wrote here were very prophetic. Is that the word, prophetic? They seem to have known what the future was, and I didn't know the future then, so call me Nostra fucking Damus. So, you could hear the competitors shouting each other across the cell, which was different. You don't normally hear that. It was different. I guess it was alright. It was cool. When Daniel Bryan came in, so the match started with Daniel Bryan and Cesaro, so they were the last two to make their entrances. There was a huge fake yes chant. It was fake as shit, and it went way too long. I mean, we know it's not a real yes chant. It sounds very like someone said, yes, yes. Then someone's got a button pressing yes, trying to make it as fast as what they think the audience want it to be. I don't know. It's just one of those wrestling things, so again, you can't really hate on that too much. There's no crowd there. They're trying to make it feel like there is a crowd, so fair play, I guess. They then played another promotion video. There was another promotion video that played just before Bryan and Cesaro in the ring properly, and then the match started. So the first portion of the ring, the first 5 minutes before anyone came out of the Elimination Chamber pods, was brilliant. I was engrossed in this. Like, Cesaro and Bryan are absolutely brilliant. Like, despite the lack of atmosphere that the Thunderdome seems to create now, because I think the buzz of the Thunderdome's gone and we all know what it is now, and there's not really that much atmosphere. Bryan and Cesaro wrestled like there was. It was really good. They are just so bloody good. I mean, selfishly, I would say that Bryan and Cesaro are wasted in WWE, but we also have to remember that they are living their own lives. So, their own lives, they need to make money, they think about their future. So I'm happy for them. They're doing what they do. They're doing a good job. Selfishly, I would rather see them in another company so I could see them wrestle high-profile matches more often. But again, we've got to remember that's just us, and people have got to do what they want to do. And if they want to work in WWE and make money there, more power to them. Bryan is just so bloody crisp now. Like, it's been a while since I've really watched Daniel Bryan in a good big match, and everything he does is brilliant. I mean, in this match, right? Like, for instance, in this match, he kept selling his leg. Bryan Danielson told his own story during the whole entire Elimination Chamber match that his leg was hurt in the early portions of the match. and this came back into play when other people other than Cesaro worked on him. It came to play near the end of the match. It was brilliant. It was consistent. It was such a little psychological thing, and he just kept it up, and it worked so good. Just so good. I mean, yeah, there was the segment where Cesaro kept working the leg, then in return Bryan started working Cesaro's hands and fingers. It was all just really small stuff. It was just really good. They fought around the chamber, and it was just a lot of fun watching Cesaro and Bryan working together with round the chamber with no one else interfering. Really good. I really enjoyed it. So the first person to enter the match was King Corbin. Boo! He got in the ring and instantly manhandled Bryan and Cesaro, beating them down and around outside the ring, around the chamber. I mean, what the hell? We just saw Bryan and Cesaro putting on this really tough, technically brilliant wrestling class in the middle of the Elimination Chamber, yet this walking potato managed to just come in and take them both down in a second. I mean, I guess they were tired. And I guess the good wrestling segment of the match was fun whilst it lasted. And it's time to get hardcore. Although I will say here that we did get back to some really good stuff. This actually turned into not a bad three-way. There was a spot where there was a load of running uppercuts. So Cesaro was doing the running uppercuts corner to corner. Then that turned into Bryan hitting them. And then Corbin hit his finish on both men. But he couldn't get the win, importantly. It was actually quite good. Corbin actually looked good in this match. Fair play to him. I've not seen him working in a while. And he actually looked good in this. So again, Corbin picked up on Bryan selling his leg, and he worked on the leg. It was good. He threw it into the metal, and I guess I at this point I thought Daniel Bryan was toast. I was wrong. I wrote in my notes here, I'm betting Bryan is the first eliminated. I was wrong. I was very wrong. So the King was trying to break his legs, and the commentators were just saying, "There's nothing the refs can do." And, I mean, this got me thinking, if the refs can't do anything, why don't you just literally break his fucking leg? It's like you had it tied up in a metal post, just wrench a bit harder. Win. I mean, obviously it's wrestling. You can't break people's fucking legs in wrestling. But, I mean, that's the sort of thing that they missed by saying that. The refs can do nothing. Well, it's like, obviously the refs can do something. They're going to stop people getting their legs physically broken. So they shouldn't maybe say that. There's maybe a different way they could word that, but I don't know. I mean, is this allowed? If it's allowed, why not? I take it too seriously sometimes. This portion of the match then turned into Corbin getting heat on Bryan and Cesaro, and I mean, it was okay. Nothing looked bad. But after the first portion of the match, I thought maybe Corbin should be the one getting beat around, because the first two men in the match showed that they were clearly, outstanding. The next person that got in the ring was Sami Zayn. Now, Sami's banter before the match, round the match, was just great. I thought it was good. I think it's a bit weird that they've made his character like an angry activist, but it's a heel, when clearly most of the angry activists are trying to do good in the world. That's a story for another day. Like we all know, Vince McMahon doesn't understand culture, let alone popular culture. So he makes mistakes like this because he just thinks people asking for good things are bad guys. This is the man that was going to make a BLM faction and make it bad, so we can't really expect anything more or less from the booking of Vince McMahon, you know what I mean? But Sami Zayn came in, he looked awesome, but I think he was like the comedy entrant, you know? He tried to, when it was his time to come in, he tried to keep his pod closed. Corbin was trying to get him, and Bryan hit Corbin into Sami's pod from behind. It was all good stuff. Cesaro then managed to break into Sami's pod, and he just threw him around, boom, 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 all over the walls and everything like that. I was half expecting the pod to fall apart. It managed to hold its position. It was alright. Cesaro looked like a total beast here. It was nice. After taking more of a beating from Cesaro, Sami then took a total licking from Bryan, which was again fun to watch. Corbin then made the save and beat up Bryan for a bit more. Sami managed to take control for a few seconds, but ended up... But, what happened here is, so Daniel Bryan was, staggered up against one of the pods with his head against the metal bar. Sami went to hell of a kick, but Bryan missed, and Sami kicked the metal pod. Obviously hurt his own leg. That was good. Now, instead of going after the injured Zayn, Bryan chose to go after Corbin, which to me didn't make much sense. Make much sense. He just took Sami down and injured him. He could have got him out, but this led to Bryan getting superplexed. okay, you know. I mean, this match was really good, but some of the stuff was like, nah. Sami then randomly climbed up on Jey Uso's pod. I don't know why. He was just trying to get away with people, I guess. Cesaro climbed up and joined him. We then got this really cool spot. So, like, they're standing on top of one of the pods. Like, you're not going to see it there. And that was cool. They were fighting about and stuff. Now, if you look at the top of the pod, right, there's like, see in line, just in line with the blue line above me, there's like a metal line. So they started like climbing on that. They were like standing on that, and they walked into the middle of the pit, the middle of the ring. And they're like hitting each other. And then what happened was, like, Cesaro grabbed onto the roof of the Elimination Chamber, the chain roof. Like, basically, it was hanging from the roof and double stomped, like, down onto Sami Zayn. That knocked him down off that right there to the floor, which the camera missed the first time, but caught the second time. Then, like, after Sami had fell, Cesaro then just starts doing chin-ups, putting his head through the top of the fucking Elimination Chamber. The guy is a total machine. A total machine. Like, what the hell? It was amazing. It's like, how strong is that man? What the hell? We had a little bit of a reset here. You know, you need that in a match. A little bit of a reset. We get to Corbin and Cesaro in the ring then, and you know what? They had a really good little exchange here. I really liked it. Corbin looked very good here. It seemed like both men were trying to win. It had that competitive nature to it, which I'm all about. And yeah, this made Corbin look like a competitor. He looked genuinely good. This led, however, to Cesaro picking up Corbin in a giant swing and then putting him into the sharpshooter. Corbin tapped. First elimination of the match. So here we go. The eliminations are started. But Kevin Owens is still... I mean, we've still got Kevin and Jey Uso to come into this match. So things are still heating up here. Kevin Owens then enters the match. Fight. Owens. Fight. Someone just subscribed or following. Hey, thanks for the thing. I always forget that makes a little jingy noise. So yeah. Kevin Owens enters the fight. Sami tries to talk to Owens. Obviously, they're old friends. He's like, come on, we can team with each other. Please don't hit me. But Owens is like, shut up. Ends up croaking him. And they fight into some of the empty pods. And they start just fighting around the Elimination Chamber. And it's nice and violent. Then Kev got in the ring. And he started going at it with Bryan and Cesaro. So at this point, the match is featured. I mean, at this point in the ring, at this moment, we have some of the best wrestlers on the planet today. You have Kevin Owens, Daniel Bryan, Cesaro, and Sami Zayn. Like, 4 of the best wrestlers the last 10 years has seen. It's just a shame that WWE doesn't have the best bookers the last 10 years has seen. But I'll save that complaint for another show. Owens and Sami then went at it again. Kev managed to super kick Sami, and then he like staggered into a corner, and then he hit his corner cannonball senton on everyone in the match, everyone that active in the match. So obviously Jey Uso was not in the match. We then got to what I call the big move, the big move portion of the match. Sami hit one with a absolutely sick Snapdragon style Tiger suplex. Sami then got hit with Swiss Death by Cesaro. Cesaro then at Daniel Bryan's like flying knee. Then Owens recovered, hit the pop-up power bomb on Bryan. No one got the pin. Everyone was down. If there was a crowd here, everyone would have been chanting holy shit. This would have been your big pop moment of the match. Everyone took a breather. I took a breather. I really liked this match. This is where Jey Uso, the final competitor, entered the ring. All competitors are now in the ring. Uso never got much offense in. Owens went right after him, throwing him around the chamber. He was thrown into a chamber. He was... and popped, like, he went flying into the back of a chamber and he popped the back wall all out of it. Just like I thought would happen. I mean, come on, WWE. You've got all this billions of money and you can't build a chamber that can... you can't build a chamber for people to wrestle in that can handle people wrestling in. Come on, guys. Like, what the hell? What the hell? This was a good match. Everyone beat up everyone for a bit. Owens climbed to the top of the chamber and moonsaulted onto everyone who was standing on the outside. This was really cool. Owens can hit a brilliant moonsault. He then hit a stunners on Bryan, Cesaro, and Sami, and in turn, he eliminated Sami Zayn. Finally, so we're getting to the eliminations now. This was the final stretch of the match. We're starting to build to the end. While Sami was leaving the chamber, Uso managed to get Kevin's arm stuck in between the bar and the door for the Elimination Chamber. He got his arm trapped there, and he used the trapped arm to beat the shit out of Kevin Owens. Jay then followed this up with a frog splash onto Owens and eliminated him. Owens was out. I would have liked it if Owens won, but he's gone. So, in the match, we've still got Cesaro, Uso, and Bryan. Bryan is still selling the leg, which is just outstanding. The exchanges between Bryan and Cesaro in this match were brilliant. They were genuinely the best bits of this match. We had a few near falls on Cesaro, but Bryan could not put the Swiss Superman down. Bryan then went for his running knee on Cesaro. It was countered. Bryan climbed to the top rope, and Cesaro countered this with a huge uppercut. And then whilst Bryan was sitting on the rope staggered, he hit him with another one and another one. Absolutely loved it. Fucking really good stuff. Cesaro then followed this with a top rope gutbuster, and the height that Bryan got on this, he was like right up. Probably higher than Cesaro got, or at least the camera angle looked like that as well. It looked sick. It was really good. He then followed this up with a single leg giant swing on Bryan. Now remember, the story that Bryan was telling in this match was that he was selling his leg. So what Cesaro did was Cesaro got him in the giant swing, but instead of using both legs, he only hooked the injured leg giant swing. So good. It was so good. So while this was happening, Uso managed to kick Cesaro. He then went for the top rope frog splash. He frog splashed Cesaro and pinned him. Cesaro was out of there. He was out. Which was a bit of a shocker. We were down to just Jey Uso and Bryan left in the match. It was so good. Jey Uso climbed to the top of the pod. He went for a frog splash on Bryan, but Bryan countered it. He managed to hit the running knee on Uso and got the win. Daniel Bryan won the SmackDown Elimination Chamber match. This was a bloody good match. It was just full of so much good stuff. And in my opinion, the right person won. Daniel Bryan, like the story he told from start to finish was that even with an injury, he was the best man in the match. And he's so good. He so was. Now, I knew that the stipulation was that the winner was going to fight Roman Reigns tonight. Now, I was hoping that this would be like at the end of the show or something, you know, like what happened at WrestleManias and stuff like that. But no, it turns out that the Elimination Chamber match led directly into the championship match, which I thought was a crock of shit. But I mean, I'm saying it's a crock of shit as a wrestling fan. This is possibly the reaction WWE want. They want us to think that what the heel does is a crock of shit. So maybe I'm just being a total mark here. Who knows? Roman Reigns made his entrance with Paul Heyman. And I was just thinking, it's like, why put someone through the Elimination Chamber for this outcome? But I mean, again, it does play into the story of Roman Reigns being this destructive heel that's just wanting to win in the easiest way possible. So I'm not massively invested in the story, but I can see that this story all makes sense. And I can see that this makes sense. I would have maybe just preferred it if they'd not used Daniel Bryan there. Why did they not make... If they were just going to do this, why not just put Sami Zayn or someone else in who we know is not going to beat Roman anyway? I mean, I know it means it's good that we've got Roman in this... We've got Daniel Bryan in this position, but... And that he's... I don't know. I just think it could have been done different, but at the same time, I understand why they did it this way, and it does play into Roman Reigns' character. So obviously Roman won. Do we need to even say that? Like, the match between Roman and Bryan started. Roman got trapped in the yes lock quickly, but he didn't pin. Roman got the better of him. Won, beat him up, won. After the match, Edge came down, and Edge... So there's Daniel Bryan struggling to get up. He's so good. Daniel Bryan is fucking amazing. But yeah, after the match, Edge came down and challenged Roman for his championship at WrestleMania. Edge pointed to the sign. Can someone cave me in with a hammer, please? I hate sign pointing. This was a great match, right? This was an absolutely outstanding Elimination Chamber match. But everything that happened after it was a bit stupid. I mean, I get the point. I get the storyline, but I would have preferred it to happen another way. Sure, the bad guy looks like the bad guy. But I mean, you can do this sort of stuff on TV, and you could do this at the end of a gauntlet match on TV the same way, without it wasting an Elimination Chamber match. And I guess this is why I don't like Elimination Chamber matches just being a yearly stop, because this is what happens. They use them in this sort of way, and they cheapen the end of the Elimination Chamber, because the winner is supposed to be the champ, not just get a title shot. So the way they just had someone winning it, then someone just comes out and destroys the winner. Like, what was the point? It tells us there's no real point in focusing too much on the Elimination Chamber match. That said, it was a bloody good event. I absolutely liked it. So, before we move on to the Raw Chamber match, I want to just quickly talk about Matt Riddle, because Matt Riddle won the US title. I mean, this is awesome. It's about time that Matt Riddle had some shine. I mean, they've made him look like a complete chump for the last 6 months. So I guess it's good that he deserves some good stuff, and he is genuinely brilliant at wrestling. Like I've said to death on this channel, the best match I've seen live in the last 5 years was Matt Riddle versus Mikey Whiplash. He is awesome. Like, Matt Riddle's a really good wrestler, so gratis to Riddle. He deserved it. He's genuinely brilliant. I've got no problem with him winning belts. There was also a women's match that happened on this event, on this show. I don't know what happened in it. I skipped through it because I didn't have time to watch it. I'm not invested in it. Nia Jax is in it. Nia's whole, I'm just over that. So let's get to the Raw Chamber match. Now, the Raw Chamber match featured Randy Orton, Jeff Hardy, Drew, Sheamus, AJ Styles, and Kofi Kingston. Now, if you remember right, initially, The Miz was in the match, who holds the Money in the Bank suitcase, but he was changed for Kofi Kingston. Spoilers, the winner of the title is not in this match. Yes, fuck our collective existence. So, we were forced to sit through a second Elimination Chamber match, only for it to mean absolutely nothing in the end. It seemed that WWE realised how stupid an idea it was to have Miz in the match when they knew he was going to cash in the suitcase after the match, or you could say it probably looks like WWE could not book the Elimination Chamber for more than 2 weeks that it had, because 3 weeks ago they had the Miz in the match and they didn't seem to realise he had the briefcase. Then they changed that when they realised he did have the briefcase, and it was a stupid idea. And then we get to this. Okay, that's what I call commitment to story, but okay, 2 weeks. It's like I've said before, WWE book like they've got ADD. They book like they only know that the next 2 weeks and the last 2 weeks existed. Anything other than 2 weeks in the future and 2 weeks in the past, they're fucked. They don't know what they're doing, which is a damning indictment, because all it takes is a bit of pen and paper. Write your ideas down. You know what's happening more than... It doesn't... I can't believe it. But this is where we're at with WWE. Regardless, I digress. The match starts with Jeff Hardy and Randy Orton in the ring. In all honesty, I was annoyed at this point because I'd seen a spoiler. I just wanted to get to the eliminations because I knew that this match just had nothing. Like, whatever happened, this match was pointless. And we were being made to sit for like 25 minutes only for everything to be made meaningless at the end. So yeah, we got Randy and Jeff Hardy for 5 minutes. Now, I'm sure this was what the match it was on last week's Raw, but whatever. Randy and Jeff are legends, so their work is always solid. And I thought we were going to get 5 minutes of good wrestling, and I mean, we got 5 minutes of wrestling. It wasn't necessarily bad, it wasn't necessarily stellar. It was just 5 minutes of wrestling, nothing special. Thankfully, no Fiend yet, or there was just no Fiend, so good. Drew entered third and got beat up a bit. Kofi entered fourth and quickly managed to eliminate Randy Orton, which was the first shocker of the evening. The shocked Randy Orton then RKO'd everyone out of the ring, then slowly exited. Now, whilst Randy was exiting the ring very slowly, AJ Styles' bodyguard was ripping the plexiglass off the back of his cell. Now, like I said, you could see it was breaking off. This is obviously why. It was fucking stupid. So, the guy rips the back of the plexiglass off of AJ Styles' pod, right? And AJ Styles gets out of the pod, runs around, but like, remembering that he's not meant to be in. The rules are he is not meant to be in the match yet, right? There's specific rules about when you can come in a match and out of a match in Elimination Chamber. So, AJ Styles gets ripped out of his pod, runs around the back in the open door past Randy Orton, who's like, he's like, just walks in the match. And he starts trying to pin people right then. He starts, like, gets in the match before he's in the match, and he's getting pinfalls, and referees are counting pinfalls. And I'm sitting like, I'm like, sorry. Like, what the fuck happened to the rules in this match? Like, it seems to be allowed, though, because fuck rules. AJ then, like, he's not allowed in the match. It's like, the Elimination Chamber is a stipulation match which is dictated by rules that people come in 5 minutes. They're only allowed into the match when they're told to come into the match. Yeah, AJ Styles is allowed to just ignore the rules completely, just come in and just start pinning people. It's like, and then we just ignore that he even had an entrance. Like, what the it was just so stupid. 5 minutes after helping AJ to the ring, though, Adam Pearce ejects AJ's bodyguard from ringside. At this point, I'm like, sorry, they're trapped inside a metal fucking cell. What point is it throwing this guy from ringside? He can't get in. What a fucking... This was just a crock of shit by this point. It is just silly. It's like they've no concept of the rules of Elimination Chamber or the actual features of the chamber or the history of the chamber. And it was just fucking stupid. So, like, that ejected someone from ringside for helping someone who's locked in the cage. Okay. A distracted AJ Styles then a DDT onto the metal, but they did not use distraction to, like, eliminate AJ Styles, which seemed like a no-brainer. Like, AJ was distracted for a whole minute, right? Then he got DDT'd on the thing. That should have been... He could have been eliminated right there. The distraction was set up. He got hit with a move whilst distracted. Why did they not just get him out there? It would have made perfect sense. But no, it didn't. He just stays in. Okay. By this point, the match felt like I felt like I was like, man, this match feels like it's near its end. It's felt like it's been going on for a while now. But then I realised that, well, we've not had AJ Styles' entrance, and Sheamus is not even in yet. So we could have another 10 minutes of just nothing until we start getting to the last portion of the match. I was like, what the hell? This is dragging now. We did get some good action here, to be fair. AJ hit Kofi with a brain buster, which looked really good, but on the whole, this whole bit was meh. This was just a basic Elimination Chamber. This could have been on Raw. This could have been on Metal. This could have been on Superstars. It was just nothing. There was nothing special in it. You could see Sheamus in his pod. That's the picture we've got there. He wasn't... He was... They kept saying he was looking focused. He wasn't even looking at the match. Like... He's supposed to be coming into this match and he's not even looking. He's not watching what's happening in the ring. Like, strategy? Like, what? Good strategy there, fella. Like, what the fuck? By this point, this match was getting boring as shit. To the point where even like, it got so boring to the point that I was watching it on plus like ×2 speed now, and even then it felt like it was dragging, which is quite a thing to do, to feel like you're dragging when you're going fast forward. After 5 minutes of nothing, Sheamus entered the match. Drew and Sheamus went at it, and this was good. We had two big guys, big meaty guys, beating each other for 5 minutes, and it was all good while it lasted, but it didn't last long. After some more violence, I realised that there were still 5 people in the chamber. Like, what the hell? This was dragging like the arse of a dog with worms. Like, what the hell? I just wanted this match to be over by now. It was, like, so bad. It was terrible. We got a trip. There was a quadruple, like, towering suplex spot, which, it was good, I guess. It was a big suplex spot. But, I mean, I had checked out. I had well and truly checked out. This match started all right, but it was terrible. I felt bad having such bad feelings and slating the people in the match, as the wrestlers were all trying their hardest. They were all trying to put on a really good show, but the booking and the way they'd planned this out and the pacing of the match was just total shit. We then got to the quick elimination bits. Thankfully, Kofi and Jeff were eliminated. We were then left with Styles, Drew and Sheamus. Sheamus then goes. We're left with AJ. We're left with Styles and Drew. Like, I would have been happy with Sheamus and Drew in the end. We know they're about to fight in WrestleMania. Would it not have been good to have them at the end of this? Have one of them beat the other one? Have maybe Sheamus... I mean, you could have put... The way that worked... I don't know. They could have had Sheamus beat... Drew go, like, beat Sheamus and win the chamber. And then Sheamus looking for even more revenge, but Sheamus having that, look, I beat you at Elimination Chamber, yet you're still... I think the story could have been a lot better than the way if they did it that way than the way they did it. But that said, they did this way. So, Sheamus went out. We're left, the last two men are Styles and Drew. AJ went for the springboard 450 and got Claymore kicked out of the air. It was an awesome spot. This was the spot of the match. This was the crowning jewel moment in the Raw Elimination Chamber match. Drew wins, but then it happens. Miz cashed in his Money in the Bank. So, what happened here is that for no discernible reason, I can tell, Bobby Lashley came out and beat the crap out of Drew. This led to The Miz cashing in his briefcase, hitting 2 finishers, becoming the new WWE champ. We'll just watch the slideshow there, and there's Miz, who he's got a strange colour of tan. It's like yellow. I don't know. I mean, what the fuck? What the fuck? Like, in the pay-per-view before WrestleMania, they decided to change who's the champion and give the belt to Miz. You know, like what the point in this? Like, I thought the match they were building to was like Drew versus Sheamus for the, and now Miz has got this. To sum up the whole thing, right? The SmackDown Elimination Chamber match was great. It was outstanding. I would tell anyone listening to this, go out of your way and watch the SmackDown Elimination Chamber match. It was awesome. But see that Raw Elimination Chamber match, the WWE, I mean, the endings to both matches were made inconsequential because Roman Reigns just destroyed the winner of the first one, and the winner of the second one had the belt taken off him by The Miz. The SmackDown Elimination Chamber match was great, but the Raw Elimination Chamber match was a total fucking stinker. My name is Steve Smith. Please follow the channel if you're not following already. Subscribe to us on YouTube if this is where you see it. And yeah, come back for more. This is the end of this discussion.